Oh my gosh.
So
Crazy.
it's been my
That's
weekend.
a great start to the podcast that we can't use. So
Can't use any of it.
thanks for bringing that.
You could just say, I had a rash on what we'll call a sensitive area.
Yes, that we could use. So
we could tell the story.
Yeah.
We
So
blur out the picture.
Yeah, we won't include the picture. So if you're just joining us, which we just started, Gary he hit record and then he told us a story about a medical situation he was in this weekend that we cannot share on the podcast.
We can't share it
because
this
is a clean podcast,
but we can't share it.
It was so funny.
Well, hey, if you bump into me, just ask me about it.
Ask Gary about it.
If you know Gary,
in person. So hilarious.
Yes, ask him about it.
Probably the biggest laugh I've had all week, but we can't share it.
Well, I don't know about that, but was gonna easily be the best laugh of the podcast.
Yeah.
And we can't share it. But if you know Gary, you can ask him about it. And
ask him.
There were pictures involved that he drew.
He drew a picture.
Illustrations.
An illustration.
He drew.
Wouldn't be appropriate to show.
Animated. I had a little animation. It's like a flip book.
There was no animation. Just a still frame. It
was a totally normal conversation between three male friends who, are sharing about something that happened. And Gary decided to hit record. And we'll spare you all the details. But let's just say Gary's doing fine.
Gary's good.
Yep. I'm all
got
clear.
A shot, but he's good now.
He got a shot in the buttocks.
Yep.
And now we're good. And we're here. Guys, I was late and I apologize.
You are forgiven.
I thought you were going to bring Matthew in.
Yeah. So Matthew is awesome. So the television show I work on is directed by a guy named Matthew Lunn. He's an old Pixar vet, and he gets so excited when he's working on a new idea that's working. And so he Skyped me and said, "Hey, can you talk real quick?" And I was like, "Well, I'm about to go into this podcast." And he's like, "It'll be real quick." And then it was like 10 minutes. He was and it was a great idea. And I appreciate his enthusiasm.
Yeah.
And
did he really Skype you?
Yeah, he always Skypes me. Yeah, it's always Skype.
I didn't know that was still around.
Skype. I know. Well, Matthew, no disrespect, but he is 51. So, yeah, I don't know. We Zoom too, but he prefers Skype. I don't know what the specifics are about that.
He probably likes the ringtone they do.
I'll tell you what I do appreciate about it. I think this is true. If I could do away with audio phone calls in my life and replace them all with FaceTime, I would make that decision in a heartbeat.
Interesting.
I do not enjoy talking on the phone. I feel like I'm just like talking and just looking around at stuff that I like. It's hard for me to concentrate. I prefer to connect with someone and just look them in the eye. And so I appreciate that Matthew. He never calls. He always Skypes, and I appreciate that.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah,
you guys would do away with phone calls and communication of all sorts if you could.
No, Adam.
You talking to Chris?
Both of you.
He's close.
I really struggle with communicating with my friends. It is true.
The best way to communicate with Chris is request a cameo from him.
The best way to communicate with Chris is to hire him for something, so he has to show up. So. That's not far off.
Oh.
Have we told the story about what happened on the pod, Chris, about that church that reached out to me? I don't think so. Gary's looking at me like
I don't know what you're talking about.
You don't know about this.
Need a little more details than the church that reached out to me.
Yeah. I don't know that we've
shared. They might be listening to this. I got an email a couple of weeks ago from a church, maybe 4 hours away, and they said, "Hey, we'd love to have you come in and do comedy for a couple's night." I think it was around Valentine's Day, or gonna be. Mm-hmm. And I could just tell from the email that I think these guys listen to the podcast, or maybe know our work from the church that we used to work at, or something. Like they would know at least Chris. And I was like, I'd love to do it. And I was so excited for two reasons. Number one, I love performing in churches. But number two, they picked me over Chris. I was just like, that's great. So I call Chris and we're just talking about whatever. And they go, hey, guess what? This church reached out to me and they're going to do a thing. And they asked me to do it. And I'm really excited. And Chris just goes, oh, no. I was just like, what? And he goes, they emailed me about a month ago and I forgot to respond to them. I was like, dang it.
They should have cameoed him.
Yeah.
I should have cameoed him.
Cameo. Oh,
yeah.
That's so funny.
But, I've been talking to him a little bit, but they haven't booked it. So, and it's been a little bit, so we'll see what happens. So maybe
they're still, Chris, did you ever respond?
No, we had talked about maybe
for Chris
adding me as a bonus to what Adam was working on.
Yeah, we were like, it'd be cool. What if we just tell them we'll both do it for, whatever. But we never really got to that point. So we'll see. We'll see what happens.
Yeah. Well, it's great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we got a lot to talk about today, guys. Oh,
we do.
What were we going to say, Chris?
Oh, I was just going to say, it's no secret that I struggle with communication, and I really do want to get better at it. I don't know what I need to do because I guess I don't know if it's just that I'm easily distracted, but at the same time, I feel like when I'm focused on something, then like that's what I'm focusing on. And so I just like, if someone's asking me a question about something that isn't related to what I'm focused on right now, then I just go, I'll get back. And then I struggle to get back with them at another time. Someone help. Someone out there.
All right. So someone out there knows how you can help Chris at, how old are you, Chris? 44? 45?
45. Just turned 45.
Yeah, it's going to take a professional.
Yeah.
Some professional. You need a life coach.
We're making a joke, but I do think that you need professional help with your communication.
Like an assistant that goes through, sees all of his text messages and emails and phone calls.
Oh yeah, we did talk about this because that church that we were just at 2 weeks ago, Chris. They said they emailed you and you didn't respond, and then gave you one final. They're like, we'll DM him, see if he responds. If people aren't persistent with you.
Well, one of the things we talked about too,
and that's the word of the,
like, especially with getting back with people for like asking me to come and do a show or something like that. I do think we talked about this. There's an element of fear to it. Like if I can't immediately go like, oh, that'll be a win, then I'm usually just kind of like, I don't know if I want to do that. I don't know if that makes good sense. And so if it's not just like a slam dunk of like, oh yeah, I would love to do that, then I usually like tell myself, I need to think about that. And then other things come through and then I forget about it. But anyways.
Which really is so. First is if you want Chris to come perform for you, then he's not a jerk. Just message him. It might take 2 messages, but message him and he'll get back to you. And if he doesn't, then message me, and then I'll go over to his house and get him to do it. But secondly, what a great transition. We had a big show last night, Chris.
Woo woo! Yeah, it was so fun. We did the first time I've ever performed.
We finally
comedy club.
That's right.
That was your first time
in a comedy club. I just realized that. I was just like, I don't know that I've ever performed. We did that. I don't know if you want to call it. It wasn't really a comedy club. It was kind of a comedy club vibe, but I guess it was like a restaurant actually. I forget. Is it something brewery? It was a brewery.
You're talking about when we did the Welltown show?
Like Welltown. There it is.
Yeah. I mean,
so that's kind of a club feel, but it's not actual comedy. So that was the first time I've ever done a comedy club. It was super fun. It was really fun, actually.
It was super fun. So Chris and I last night, we performed at Loony Bin Comedy Club. Nobody's surprised here in Tulsa. Big shout out to Mason Thatcher. Thanks for having us. He's one of the owners. Yeah, we've been doing, since they took over the club, I've been doing something kind of bi-monthly called Clean Cut Sunday, where it's all clean comics. And he was like, I'd love to get Chris. And so it worked out that we could just do a Clean Cut Sunday with you. And it was definitely a working it out show, where we wanted to see if you could do your characters on stage to people who knew your characters from Instagram and TikTok. And we sold tickets. We sold about 100. So the room felt really full, which was great. And we did it.
Yeah.
We had an opener. She did 15 minutes or 10 minutes of clean material. And then I got up and did 25. And then I introduced each one of Chris's characters. We started with Pastor Bobby. And then when Pastor Bobby was done, he went off stage. I got up and did a little crowd work. Then I introduced Chad. He goes off stage. I did a little crowd work. And I introduced Steven Stevens. And then at the end, we had planned to do trivia because we thought we would need more time because you need to do about an hour and a half show. We did the trivia, but the show was like 2 hours long because it was just going so well. Hot crowd. Yeah.
It was super fun to be. I felt like more in my element doing that than stand up. Like I was thinking about like when I do stand up, I sometimes just feel like I'm using about like 40% of my capacity and like a lot of effort. And when I'm doing characters, I don't know, there's some kind of synergy about it that I just feel effortless and I feel like I'm just using all my superpowers. And it just is so fun when they get it and they're vibing with what you're doing. And it just was so fun. And it was a great crowd. Yeah. So
it was awesome because there was so much energy. What were you saying?
Oh, I was just saying I want to do it again.
Yes. I want to do it much more. It was so much more of a show than just a stand-up. Like sets. It was very, I mean, like never, like any shows that I ever do, like the feature and the headliner, they never perform together or whatever. There's no like overlap or whatever. One introduces the other or whatever. And so, what I was telling Chris that I really loved is like, I could just tell when I said, so I just introduced every one of them as a guest. And I said, our first guest tonight comes from Tecumseh Christian Center. And it was just like clapping and applause. And it was just like, they're just like, yeah, because you didn't know who was coming up first or whatever. And just like, please give it up for Pastor Bobby. And then Chris, when he took the stage and just standing there next to me looking like Pastor Bobby, I was just like, oh, this is such a funny moment. I'm enjoying this as much as anybody in the audience. And so awesome. Just having that kind of energy was so different than like, just even like, all right, give it up for this next headliner. He's very funny. Please give it up. Like, it just was nice that people knew you.
Yeah. It was like,
what was
go ahead.
I was going to ask, what was the kind of the highlight for you, Chris, between all the each character?
It's funny. I feel like every character worked. Like they were on board with every character, which was really, really cool. I think the highlight for me too was like meeting people afterwards and stuff, just seeing how excited people were. And I don't know, it's just a good feeling. Yeah. It's just a cool thing to feel like you're a part of people's lives in a way that like, just to like have the honor of being in their presence is meaningful to them. It's just really cool. So I really enjoyed that. That was a big highlight for me. But I think there's always that nervousness beforehand. I told Lisa, I was like, man, Adam is like so tight. Like his jokes are all hitting and it's like, he's got a joke coming every 10, 15 seconds. Like it just was like, this is awesome. And I like told Lisa, I'm just like, my stuff is not going to be that tight. So I was worried that I was going to be a big letdown. And then when when I first took the stage, it just was like, it just the crowd's energy that I was there. And like, it just reminded me of like some of the performances I'd had, like doing the Seeds conference where when me and Josh Merrill would take the stage and like, you could tell people were like instantly on board with what we were doing, like just from like our outfits or whatever. It reminded me of that. And it just, I don't know, I just get into this weird space where I just feel like, it's really hard to describe. It's really like, but it's this feeling of, the only way to describe it is like, it's just kind of an out of body thing where you feel like you can't do anything wrong, like you're just in control and you're like connected to the audience and they're with you. And it's like, it just sounds weird, but it's almost like a dance where you just feel like, you know what they want. I don't know. It's hard to describe, but just feeling that again, I hadn't felt that in a long time. I don't ever feel that when I do stand up. I always feel like I'm fighting with the audience to try to get them to kind of like get on board with me. And this just felt like immediately everybody's on board and having a great time. And, it's just, I feel super like hyper creative in those moments too, where I'm finding fun things to do that I hadn't planned on doing. So like we said, I was like, my stuff wasn't very tight, but that ended up just being like tons of impromptu moments and just things I hadn't planned on doing that happened, and talking to people or whatever, just stuff that happened that was just really, really fun. And so it never felt like it dragged to me. Even though I didn't like have all these jokes written, it was just like experience. It was like an experience and it was just super fun. Sorry, Abby, if that was
you were, I mean, Chris is referencing our friend Abby. Is just when she listens to the podcast, she says, Chris takes forever to answer the question. I don't think she actually means what you just said. I think she means the pause, the gigantic pause you typically take before you answer a question. I was so proud of you, Chris. I told you, but I also told Di that I was just like, I don't know if this is going to work, but I'm never afraid of trying something out. And I kind of felt like it was like, I've thought before, like maybe Pastor Bobby and Stephen, maybe they're just for online. Maybe they're not for live.
Oh, I've thought that too. Yeah.
But we had never, we've never tried. I mean, you've done it in corporate settings, but like I told the audience last night, like if you're in a corporate setting and you don't know who Steven Stevens is, that's a hard turn.
Yeah, totally.
So that's, so when as soon as you took the stage and you, as Pastor Bobby, and the crowd was just going crazy and excited that you were there, and you started making jokes about me. And I just went back and texted Diana and Gary, and I was just like, he's killing. This so works. This is amazing. And we'll post some videos here soon. I filmed the whole thing. So, but one thing that was awesome, Gare, was I didn't realize how much crowd work I was going to have to do in the middle, because we just didn't know how long it was going to take Chris to change clothes, who, by the way, had to change in the audio booth where there was a window. So that's amazing.
Well, it was like a mirrored window.
Could you see him from the stage?
I couldn't see him from the stage, but if you went up to the window, you would see him. Totally.
And then the other thing is that it had a mirror on it. It was like a mirrored window, but the guy who was working the sound booth, he would have to open it so you could like see better out. So I would go in there and like start taking my clothes off, and then Lisa's like, the window's open. I'm like, oh crap. So if you were looking back there, you would have totally saw me just drop my drawers.
That's amazing. Yeah, you had to shave back there, didn't you?
Yeah,
like you shaved
so I started with the beard
goatee
with Bobby, and then I shaved into a goatee, and then I shaved the goatee off for Steven. So that was kind of a fun,
amazing.
But.
Yeah. So I did a lot of crowd work, and thankfully we had a hot crowd. So they were super into talking and that sort of thing. But I just randomly, I said, anybody here for the first time, or like you're at a comedy club for the first time? And like so many people had never been to a comedy show. And I just picked a guy. I said, you, sir, what's your name? And he said his name, and he wasn't from America. And I was like, where are you from? And he said, Sweden. Him and his wife were from Sweden. And I said, but you live in Tulsa now. And they said, no, we live in Sweden. And I was just like, okay, did you come for the show? And they said, we just happened to be, we follow Steven Stevens or follow Chris online. We just happened to be in Tulsa visiting some friends. And then you're doing the show. And so it was just like, oh my gosh, that's awesome.
I didn't
they
know
they were an amazing couple.
I talked to them.
Oh, you're just learning that
after the show. I didn't know why they were here. I know they were from Sweden. We talked about it, but I didn't know they just were like, just happened to be in Tulsa and I assumed they were from Sweden, but they lived in Tulsa. Like they were here for business.
Oh yeah. No, no.
That's amazing.
They used to live in Oklahoma City and then they moved to Sweden, or they moved back to Sweden where they're from. And then they
had very thick,
and then they came to, they were on a trip. I said, where are you guys going after this? And they said, we're visiting Oklahoma, Kentucky, and Florida. It was like, we do have better places.
Triple crown.
Tour in the South.
Please don't report back. Yeah. But yeah, they were awesome. And there was this awesome lady that came up to me afterwards. I sold merch for the first time at this show, which was awesome. And this lady came up and she goes, I don't know who Chris Munch is. I came to see you. She was the only one, but I did appreciate it.
Yeah. Well, no, what's funny is that couple that said that to you, that was like one of the couples I did the most Steven Stevens stuff with. And so
awesome.
It's hilarious that they didn't even
know
who Steven Stevens. The guy, like when I was kind of talking to him about, I'm like, I hope you realize what you have here, sir. She's an absolute goddess. And he just, he was just kind of like, like
he just
wasn't
nothing.
super into it. It's like, I guess this guy's feeling threatened. It was fun.
So that's amazing. Well, they did ask. Chris and I are going to do we're doing a show in a prison in the next couple of months, and I guess they work with the prison ministry that is putting that on, and so they did ask about that. So I think they're fans now. They seem to like
good.
you now.
Good.
So,
yay.
What else, Chris? Any other takeaways from this? We've been asked to do another club.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's good to know, like, okay, for people who know what I do, like to know that the videos, those characters will work live too, was a big thing for me. Like Steven Stevens, one of the tensions I felt was like, so much of what he does is invading your personal space on video.
Oh yeah,
too close to the screen.
Yeah,
there's long pauses, all that kind of stuff. That's like a little harder to do in like the elongated eye contact. Like I can't make eye contact with the whole crowd. So I was a little concerned that I wouldn't be able to kind of like find that same awkward tension, but just silence live in a room creates some tension. So tried to do like a nice long pause of just with some mouth noises that worked pretty good. But so anyways, it worked. It was fun. So that was a big learning for me.
Also, something that I noticed you were really able to capitalize on live that it doesn't seem to translate as well online is the way you were standing as Steven. Because you stand with your belly poked out and it's harder to see that live. And so there were some times that you were just standing there and I was just like, I can't handle this. This is too much. Like I can't. Who stands like that? Yeah. No one.
Well, it's just the most unflattering,
Oh yes.
Which just makes it funny to me. Is just, dude, you do not.
Yeah, no one ever looks good belly out.
Belly out.
Belly first.
Yeah. There's some more work I want to do as far as like how he walks and stuff that I want to work more on. But like Pastor Bobby, I love this. I like I put my hand backwards on my side. I don't know if you noticed that, but that just feels like kind of a funny way to stand. And it seems like something kind of an older person would do.
I will say there was something you did when you got to the club that really scared me. You said to Lisa, I need to write some Steven Stevens jokes. And I was like, what are we doing? What are you talking about? What do you mean you need to write some jokes? The door's open in an hour.
Yeah.
But you were.
Yeah. So I had a bit. There's like a delay here. Sorry.
Go ahead. Yeah, you got a little bit of delay, but keep going.
There's a section in the Steven Stevens segment that we thought, since I'm at a comedy club, we thought it would be funny if Steven got up and said, hey, I've heard, that women like guys who can make them laugh. So I thought I'd, try to say a few jokes. And so I brought a few. And so the jokes themselves, I wasn't too worried about. So I had one of the three and I just hadn't had the other two yet. So I was like, I was just going to put those together real quick. So I wasn't trying to think of like some new joke that I was going to try.
That's what I thought.
Right. Now I couldn't say what I was just like,
this is going to be a catastrophe.
Let me write my material real quick here. What time doors open? Okay.
Yeah. 30 minutes? Okay. No, that's good.
Perfect. Do you have a pen?
Yep.
We got a
pen. No? Okay. I got to run let me go. I got to run home real quick and get a pen.
I just need some paper. Can we print this out?
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I was very careful to make sure I brought printed papers.
First time performing in a club, you've predominantly performed in churches. And it's a different environment. What do you think?
I really felt the room in the sense of like, oh, this is designed well for this. Like some of these corporate gigs, you have a table that has 10 chairs in a circle. So literally half the audience has their back to you. And so like this was just like the tables are tiny and, everybody is, pointed at you and they're super close to you, which I love. Like, I mean, that first row is just literally like the bottom of the table is scooted up to the base of the stage. So I loved that. Like, I really like that. I actually prefer to see the audience a little bit more. So that was the only thing that I was kind of like, oh, all I can see is lights. I can't even see anybody except for like literally the front row.
Yeah.
But I think most comics like it to be super dark, I guess, but so leave you.
Honestly, I don't know. I do think that I think that is true, but I do understand what you're saying. I hadn't really thought about that. It's always been the situation that I've been in at clubs it is always dark. And sometimes it's been really advantageous because there weren't very many people there. And
right. Yeah.
It can help.
I could see that. Yeah.
You feel okay.
I just feel like it's a little harder for me to like connect with everybody if I feel like I can't see their faces. But that's good.
So where do we go from here, Chris?
I was going to ask if there's anything you guys would do differently after the show.
There was I thought about this last night, but I have Pastor Bobby. He sings to close out his little section. And it's really fun to perform.
That's what it was.
But people don't know where to laugh. It's just me singing, thank you for giving to the Lord. Yes, sir. I am alive. I mean, it's just fun to do, but no one laughs because it's more just like an atmosphere thing. I guess I think it's funny, but no one knows where to laugh. So it
is funny.
You're just kind of singing.
But you had a joke right before. Yeah, you had a joke right before that had a really big response.
I probably should have got out right there. But so I don't know. I'd have to retool it or figure out a way to give it some more punchlines, because I do think it's fun to sing. And maybe it's just the song. Maybe a better song would work. I don't know, but maybe get them to sing it with me or clap along or something. I don't know.
Oh, we did have Chris come out to "Who's in the House" by Carmen.
Oh yeah, yeah, that was fun.
That was awesome.
Nice. That song blows my mind.
Do you have a theme song for everybody? What would
I did? Yeah. So
Chad come out to?
Chad came out to the '90s Bulls intro. If you're an old basketball fan, that I don't even know how it goes, but
is that bum 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 bum?
Yeah, it's real intense and like. But I don't know. That one feels like maybe I could find something better. And then Steven comes out to Careless.
Oh no, yeah, no. It's oh, I didn't even notice that.
Oh yeah.
Oh, that's so good.
Yeah, that's fun.
Yeah. Oh, that's so funny.
But I have a vision for like I think I probably for Chad to do like a PowerPoint presentation, like where he could have slides and have like pictures and stuff.
Oh, yeah.
I think you could just plus that up quite a bit. If you have some more visual kind of stuff you could do. And then like video intros, I think could be really helpful.
Oh yeah.
Just to give it a little bit more pizzazz right before, make it feel a little bit more cohesive. So Adam's just not out there trying to do crowd work the whole time. And I want to just be able to tighten up my
there was a couple times
of my outfits and all that stuff. I think there's some ideas there. I can make that smoother.
There was one time after when Chad went up there, I went to the back of the room and I was asking Lisa if like, what did I said to her? Like, I walked up to her. She goes, "Chris has to pee really bad." And I was like, okay. I was like, all right, well, on the next change, tell him I can stretch and he can go pee. But then I was up there for a while and I was just like, oh man, I don't know how much longer I can.
Now you have to pee.
Do what?
Yeah, then I had to pee because I mean, I did a 30-minute set and then I did basically like 3 more 5 to 10 minute spots in between. So it was like, I'm just like, I'm running out of funny things to say.
Yeah. I was so proud of you. I thought you did amazing. Just keeping everybody engaged. That's not easy. And, but yeah.
Well, thank you, my friend.
I thought that was really cool. But yeah, it hit me right before I took the stage with Bobby. I was like, oh crap, I've got to pee. And so I was like, I'll just fight through it. We used to have a game when we were doing sketches at 180 way back in the day where you couldn't go, if you had to pee, you had to hold it. Like it just gave you a little bit more of an edge as a performer. We used to say we can't pee, but until after we perform.
Oh my gosh. Oh, that sounds terrible.
So, that's many times when you take the stage. No, that's, I gotta pee. But anyway.
Oh Lord. All right. So so from here we're hoping to we got an offer to do another club in Arkansas, and we want to do more churches and events like that, right, Chris?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think I don't know. But I think what we did last night, I think I'm pretty sure we could do that. I feel confident we could make that work anywhere. So I don't know.
I think so.
Yeah. There were several people that didn't know who I was.
So it's exciting. Oh yeah. There were people like friends of people who knew Chris that came and really loved it and had a great time. And a lot of people had never been to a comedy show before, and that of course is really exciting. So, so it was awesome. So, if you're listening to this and you were at the show, thank you so much for coming.
Thank you.
It was as much fun for us as we hope it was for you. We really had a great time, and it was definitely a guinea pig of a show, and it works. Mm-hmm. And that's really exciting. Mm-hmm. And then this is a good segue. Shout out to the Loony Bin Comedy Club in Tulsa for hosting us and giving us a shot at doing this. Loony Bin is a big sponsor of the podcast, and you can check out all of their comics, their headliners that are coming through at loonybincomedy.com. Click on the Tulsa tab. A lot of clean comics that are coming through. Aaron Weber just got booked. We got Greg Warren, Brian Bates. Who else do I know that's clean? Oh, Steven Rogers, all in the at the beginning of the year, and a lot of comics leading up to it. I'll be on a lot of those shows, so if you wanna come out, that'll be great. I'm headlining a date. I don't know if I told you guys that. I'm headlining at the Loony Bin. in February.
Awesome.
In January or February, I can't remember. Yeah, so it'll be a fun show.
That's great.
And
I thought you were going
I'm
to say
sure
like Super Bowl. Is it Super Bowl Sunday?
I think it's on Thanksgiving.
Yeah, it's the day before
that I'm
Thanksgiving.
headlining.
Okay.
It's like when the youth pastor gets to do the sermon at church on the Sunday
I'm
after
gonna do
Thanksgiving.
December 23rd. I'll be there.
Yeah.
And New Year's Eve.
Yeah.
So,
New Year's Eve. Yeah. Pastor won't be there, but he'll be rooting you on all the way from Southern Florida. It's gonna, it's a hot one. So
you're gonna love Pastor Todd.
Yeah, but check out loonybinComedy.com. Wait, what were you saying?
You're gonna love Pastor Todd. He wears his hat backwards. He's got a denim jacket. He's got those jeans super tight. They got holes in them. You're gonna love him. He's gonna be a fresh voice. Amen.
I can see. Pastor Bobby, how do you feel about the next generation? Is it something that's exciting to you, or what do you think about?
I love the next gen. And that's where I think a lot of pastors go wrong, is they haven't embraced the next gen. Sure, they're rough around the edges, their big old baggy jeans and whatnot. But I just embrace the change. Change is a part of life. Amen.
Isn't that good?
Good?
That's awesome. Well, we're wrapping up the podcast. We do have a big announcement.
We do.
For the podcast.
Yeah, I feel like we could have led with this.
We didn't, though. I don't. Yeah. This is not only the 50th episode of the pod, but it is the last episode of the podcast.
For the foreseeable
50th and final episode.
Is that exciting? Yeah. Is that exciting, everyone? You made it all the way through, and you're like, some of you are listening for the first time, and you're like, yes, a podcast that I can get into, get to know these guys. I'm going to join them every week. It's going to be so fun. Well, this relationship is short-lived, and it's over.
Run it back. Run it back.
Yeah.
Yeah, just go back to the beginning.
We got you 50 episodes. It's a full year's worth, almost.
Yeah. Yeah. And it was fun. We had a blast. We started this just after I had stopped working at the church. Chris had stopped for a year. He had already been gone for a year, and we just wanted to follow our comedy journey, kind of give you an inside look. Honestly, it's the kind of podcast that I like listening to, where I get to hear people who are doing something fun and get to hear like what it's like. And so we started it, and part of it was just good for us because doing comedy and stand-up is pretty lonely, and it was nice to just be able to get together every week and kind of share what we're doing just together. And then we just invited Gary along for the ride, and it turned out to be awesome. But we want to spend some time focusing on writing and performing more, and doing more shows, working on the show that Chris and I have started, that we just did at the Loony Bin. And I've seen a lot of comics, especially, get into comedy, and they focus a lot on the peripheral, and don't focus as much on writing jokes and just killing. Mm-hmm. And so we were just talking about, as we came to the 50th episode, it's a nice one to end on. And I don't know, Chris, you might say something, but I know for me, like, it takes a lot to produce a podcast. And I don't think this is goodbye forever.
Yeah.
In fact, maybe we'll call the episode, what do people say?
See you
Goodbye
later.
For now.
See you later. Goodbye for now. Goodbye for now, but not forever.
Yeah.
Because I could see us coming back and doing another season of episodes. But for now, it's best for us in our career to focus on writing and performing. I don't know. What do you want to say, Chris?
Yeah, totally. I think we're at a place where, there, there's not a ton to report on. So it kind of feels like, we're just kind of working the system here, working what we know to do. But I think, maybe later on we might have a little bit more to share, and just be able to put the time into it to actually make it a little bit more interesting and a little more more entertaining. And right now I just feel like we're just not really at a place where we can really give up more time to make it better. And so rather than just kind of going through the motions, I think we just want to step away, focus on some other things for a while. And then we might be at a place where we can come back a little stronger, and be able to make a product that is just more interesting for people.
Yeah. Something Dustin Nickerson told me, I don't know, several weeks ago when we were doing those shows, is I just asked him any mistakes you made along the way. And he said, I was so focused early on in what does my website look like? What do my headshots look like? I got to make sure that I've got, whatever things he was seeing other people had. And he said, I really should have just been focused on crushing. And for me, that's just in writing and performing. And, there's a lot of opportunities as a comic to just do a lot of other things. And I just want to make sure that I stay focused on what is the best for my career right now. So that if we do a podcast again, maybe we have more people and, maybe have something different to say.
Yeah. We want to just say thank you for
Gary, did you finally?
Oh, Gary.
We finally got the biscuit, guys. That's why we're done.
Oh yeah,
we got the biscuit. Chris performed his characters on stage.
That was the whole point of this podcast, just to get him to perform his characters live.
Nothing left to risk.
Finally hit it.
Yeah,
we did it. I'm now going to be interviewing at Allstate. I'm going to become an insurance adjuster. It's just on to the next mountain to climb. I climbed this mountain. Let's go to the next. Yeah. On to the next.
You've conquered the comedy world. Now it's time to conquer the business world.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, I
want to get into more just administrative work. Calling people back, that kind of stuff.
Hone in that skill.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But you were going to say, Chris, hey, everybody who's listened and supported us and messaged us and run into us in town or when we've done shows or booked us. Obviously, we're ending this season of the podcast, but we are not, we're just going to keep working our craft and taking opportunities and just keep going strong in comedy. And, but you guys have been awesome. It's been awesome getting emails and comments and people just saying how much they, have learned, or enjoyed listening. Yeah. So that's,
it's amazing.
That's been awesome.
Yeah. So thank you for doing that.
I know Casey, your brother Adam, has really enjoyed getting to know you through the podcast.
That is what he said. Shout out, brother. Hopefully you learned a little something about me. We did have a friend, our friend Scott. Shout out Scott Bloom. I think Scott, Chris, didn't you say Scott? You told Scott a bunch of stuff that had been going on in your life, and you're like, I don't need an update. I heard the podcast.
Yeah, I'm just like, he's just letting me just talk about all this stuff, and then it's like, oh no, I listened to the podcast. I'm like, oh, I've been rehashing all these things I already said on the podcast. But
that's awesome. Yep. All right. So this will be the last episode for now. And if we release more, then we'll post about it.
I'll let you know.
Excuse me. We'll post about it online and you can follow us. We'll put it in one of Chris's email blasts or on my social media, something like that. And then, but I think it's only right that one of your characters sign us off, Chris.
Blessings.